we need to finish what we start. You know what I mean? We can't leave it out there. We'll cross the finish line, we'll outrun melanoma, and and eventually we'll get there.
Hello everyone, I'm Eszter Vajda and welcome to Hometown Talents and Treasures. Our guest is Kevin Belanger, whose sister Denise died in 2010 from melanoma. Since then, Kevin has been committed to raising awareness and money to help combat the cancer through the Melanoma Foundation of New England. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, Esther, how are you?
Great, good to see you again. And one of the big ways that you do it is by running the Boston Marathon for your sister Denise. Talk to me about how you got involved with the Melanoma Foundation and why you chose to run marathons for this.
I got involved in running, basically, in of itself as a way for me to kind of deal with when my sister got sick back 5 years ago. It was kind of a stress relief, that type of thing. And when I came back from Florida, from her services, I always wore her, her cancer cap, and I still wear it every time I even run a little training run or a half marathon or so on and so forth. But after I finished my first marathon, somebody said, well, now we have to do Boston. My first marathon was up in Hampton, and I said, gee, Boston, that's another whole animal, but, always want to continually kind of challenge myself. I said, well, you know what, maybe I could do that. I could never qualify time-wise. So I started looking into some of the different charities that the BAA offers, and I thought maybe I could connect that way. I've always tried to give back. I think I gave you some of my history last year when we did the radio show. I've done a lot of coaching in the Merrimack Valley, try to help kids out, so on and so forth. And, so I figured if I ran it for charity, it'd be another way that I could give back to try to help somebody else. And when I was on the BAA list of charities, lo and behold, I saw that the Melanoma Foundation of New England, which I knew nothing about, was one of their charities. And I said, well, this is a perfect fit if I can make this happen. And so I applied, and I did probably a 20-minute phone interview. They accepted me, which was, I've been very grateful, for that acceptance. And it was an amazing experience last year, getting to get the message out there, letting people know how prevalent this cancer is, especially in young people.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because melanoma rates are increasing faster than nearly all cancers.
Yeah, and
that's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, melanoma, you think, you don't really hear that much about it anymore, but in fact it's increasing. Why?
Over the past year or so, being involved with the foundation and getting to educate myself more about this cancer as well. A lot of it in young adults. It's the second fastest growing cancer in young adults, and a lot of it has to do with tanning practices. Tanning beds at a young age.
It's a big thing, like before the prom.
Yeah.
Big time to make sure that you're tan.
The foundation does great things to educate, especially young adults, because it's so prevalent in young adults now. They have programs right now, the No Tanning Pledge, where they go in and they educate kids in schools, and they get them to sign on to take the No Tanning Pledge challenge so that they're not tanning for prom, and they also are doing it in colleges too. Throughout New England, it's become a huge thing. I think like anything else, it's education, and once you have either had your eyes open through education or had your eyes open through, oh my God, something like this happened to a close friend of mine. It's until it really hits home before you're really aware, like, geez, this could happen to me.
Yeah,
You know
isn't
what I
that
mean?
the fact? We do that
not
with
immune, but
everything.
you know what I mean? It is to me. I think the age of 50-year-old males, a lot of it has to do with construction workers. I think that worked for years with taking their shirts off and they don't necessarily go get checked. You know what I mean? I mean myself,
Runners.
go to the doctor when when you need to go.
Yeah.
Not when you should go. Getting checked by a dermatologist at least once a year. I mean, it's simple preventative things. Learning the ABCs of mold detection. Having your husband or wife or your mom or dad, check you out. They have other programs right now where they're actually training hair salons in terms of mole awareness.
And what to look for.
And what to look for so that they can tell their clients, hey, this looks a little funny. You might want to go get that checked out. And it's paid dividends. It's little things like that, early detection.
Tell me about Denise, and you have a picture of her here. Memories, happiness, lives forever, and the memories we keep. What do you remember about her?
What do I remember about her? Well, you know what? She always did things her way. Very independent, very strong. She moved to Florida probably when she was about 20 years old, and she started a family down there. So I have 2 nephews and a niece.
3 kids.
Yeah.
44.
44. Yeah, she passed away when she was 44 years old. So yeah, and the other part of the reason I feel honored to do this for a charity, she had a great job before she passed at GE, and she didn't have cancer at the time. She took it upon herself to do the Relay for Life campaign and get it going at her plant at GE. She got their administration to buy on, and in their first year alone, where she was a campaign head, they raised $35,000 through her plant alone at GE for the Relay for Life campaign. So being involved in the Melanoma Foundation and being able to help others and sort of, pick up her torch with helping other people that you don't even really know, on top of getting the message out there for people to be aware of melanoma and how prevalent it is now.
Did she went and got checked because she had a mole, or?
Yeah, she had a dermatologist and she had a spot on her back, and the fact of the matter is she used to tan, and she did tanning booths and lived in Florida, and
you grew up in Hampton.
And I grew up in Hampton. Hey, guilty as charged. I'd be one of the guys hanging on the wall, and had to get the tan just like most young kids like to do. And she had a spot on her back and fought with her dermatologist because she didn't like how it looked, and her first dermatologist didn't want to take it out, and she went back because it started to feel not quite right, and finally she basically demanded, and I've heard the story more than once from other people, had a similar experience, and she demanded that they take that thing out. Wow. And they took it out, and they had to go very, very deep, and it was a lot worse than they thought, and so it got into her bloodstream, and she obviously from that point forward, when the diagnoses came back at that point, got a new dermatologist, stayed with that person, did her yearly checkup, so on and so forth, and it kind of just lay dormant in her for 7 years, which is quite a long period of time for what I'm told, what I was told then, but it can, obviously it happens.
What do you think of when you wear this cap, her cancer cap, and I read somewhere that you said with every step you think of her? Yeah,
it became one of those things that when I went down there after she passed away, I went out for a run with my oldest nephew, and sorry. When I came back from that run, I saw this hanging, and I said, I got to take that back with me, And it just became one of those things. I started wearing that when I would run, and it's a good source of strength. When you get out there on mile 17, 18, when they start to ramp up, and you kind of reach up, and it's like, hey, listen, these people that are battling these cancers and things like that, they'd love to be feeling the pain that I'm feeling right now, you know, so.
Oh, Kevin,
you know.
just give me chills.
Yeah, you know, and you know, when I was younger, I lost a lot of people in high school when I was younger. You'd be amazed. And I remember going into my senior year of high school, I had a really good friend that died tragically going into a senior year of high school, drowned in his family swimming pool. And I remember that was one of the first funerals I was ever at. And a sister at our church came up to me and put her hand on my shoulder and she said, you know, when somebody passes away, they're never really gone as long as you keep their memory alive.
Yes.
So doing things like this and, you know, keeping her memory alive and others that I've lost, you know, you can probably see on here, I've added some things, you know, on the way as I go here. 620 on the side of my cap.
Yeah.
That's a friend of mine that I grew up playing baseball with in high school. And 11 years ago, ironically enough, running his first 5K road race, dropped out of a heart attack in the middle of the road race. Married his high school sweetheart, 3 boys, the whole story. So.
And of course, we've got the Boston Strong, and
so that was added. Yeah,
that was added.
Yeah, so that was added.
And that's an interesting story with us because at the radio show, Hometown Talents and Treasures airs on radio too, and you came in the Sunday before the marathon, before those bombings, to talk about this, to talk about running for a cause, and that was the theme. And then you came back the Sunday after, and you know, we're a few months away from the marathon, and you're going to run it again. Despite a little bit of injuries, I know you, Kevin, you'll run it. What was that like?
Not finishing? Is that what you mean?
Not finishing, hearing the bombs and knowing that something happened, and of course we have this picture here, a month after the marathon when you got to cross the finish line, and it's signed by Bill Rogers, who says, Kevin, you have crossed the finish line of the Boston Marathon.
That's...
Congrats.
Yeah, Bill's a honorary captain of the Melanoma Foundation in New England, and he's done great things for awareness for them. Obviously, you know, his reputation speaks for itself, but what a lot of people don't know is that melanoma is in his family, and so it's a cause that's very near and dear to his heart, which is why he's an honorary captain on our team. You know, last year, after everything happened, you know, at the end of the marathon, last year we had 35-member team that ran for the foundation. Only 10 out of those 35 actually crossed the finish line. So most of us didn't get to cross. And, you know, when that happened, there were numerous teammates of mine right in the same vicinity, but I couldn't find anybody. And, you know, when that happened, you know, obviously it became less about a race and more about, you know, knowing where my loved ones are and my teammates and is everybody okay. And, you know, we did, the foundation was amazing in terms of reaching out, making sure everybody was accounted for, that families were okay. And, you know, for a couple of weeks after that, we did a lot of conference call in terms of kind of healing and trying to process everything that happened. And, you know, and I really didn't chime in for the first couple of meetings. You know, it took me a bit to kind of figure out what I wanted to say there, you know. And to me, finishing the Boston Marathon, it's going to be a personal goal. You know what I mean? It'll happen, but, you know, we're lucky enough that we get to live to run another day, you know. There were 3 people killed that day that will never be able to even come watch. You know, I have a good friend of mine that's running for Martin Richards' team this year. And, you know, so it's those types of things that, you know, kind of put it all into perspective that, you know, I'm blessed to be able to run again this year, you know, and run for the Melanoma Foundation again, to keep getting the message out there, to keep running. You know, and I said to my teammates last year in one of these sort of conference healing type calls, I said, you know, we didn't earn our medal last year at the finish line, we earned our medal at the starting line. Because
Well said.
I had said to these guys and girls that I ran with, you know, that the reason why we ran last year was to try to help people that are dealing with this cancer, try to get an awareness out there, and try to raise money to help prevent this from continuing in the future. And that's really why we got involved. So, and in doing so, we earned our start at the finish line. We earned our place at the finish line, you know, and at the end of the day, we get to go run a race.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it was really all about.
And I just love this picture because it really captures so much. You got your cap on, you've got the American flag, you've got the Melanoma Foundation shirt on. What was it like to finally finish?
It was, I don't know, it was, I mean, it was great to cross. It was great to see the people. That happened, you know, a month after, I think it was May 25th or May 26th, and when they finally were able to put it all together, and it was actually going to happen. You know, I think I was the first one to chime in. I said, I will be in Kenmore Square with my American flag, who's in? And I met a bunch of my teammates, you know, right there at Uno's, and, you know, when we went and did it. And I think, you know, at the time, it's the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
You know, with running that last mile for you know, those of us that were so close. I mean, 5 minutes away. We timed it. And we were 5 minutes from the finish line. Yeah.
5 minutes from the finish line.
So, but you know what? I mean, you know, my family was safe. My friends were safe that were there cheering us on. You know, we're glad we had one teammate last year whose son wasn't quite so lucky. He was at the finish line, and you know, he suffered some injuries and had some surgeries, but he's doing much better now. So. And
we should mention that at a later point we will have the director of the Melanoma Foundation of New England,
Deb Gerard,
on, Deb Gerard, and also another lady who is just so special, who's been going around giving talks to schools. But until then, give us your final thoughts, your message to people. You're certainly true hometown talent and treasure for not only what you do for your sister, but really it's a bigger thing, and just very inspirational, Kevin. It's awesome stuff.
Yeah, you know, I think like anything else, you know, anybody that's, I think, dedicated to a cause is, you know, they're in it, that if they can prevent it from happening to one person, then they'll feel, I mean, you know, it's to coin a phrase, but it's true. If I can keep it from happening to one person, or, you know, educate one person to say, hey, you know what, thank you very much. And I've had that happen to me over the past year. You know, geez, if I didn't know that. And so that's what makes it all worthwhile. But yeah, and wrapping up, you know what, we need to finish what we start. You know what I mean? We can't leave it out there. We'll cross the finish line, we'll outrun melanoma, and, you know, and eventually we'll get there. So it's all good stuff.
Awesome. Kevin, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Let's finish melanoma.
That's our show. Thanks so much for joining us. And if there is someone or an organization you'd like to see featured on Hometown Talents and Treasures, email me at esternvajda@gmail.com. Remember, it can be anyone. The important thing is that they selflessly donate their talent and time to help others. See you next time.